Okay. All right. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now. It's um it's one of those things where, well, first of all, I'm doing it the poor man's way. I'm going to make this a live stream, then I'll download it, and then I'll chop it up to add videos because my I have OBS, but my computer really lags, so it's a little piece of junk. I want to talk more about my situation. For those who followed my videos, I'm not going to go back. I don't know how to put links in or any shit. Well, maybe links. I don't know how to put those boxes in, but you can go back and learn my situation where a coworker threatened me with violence brazen right in front of the boss. His name was Paul, tall fag Paul, threatened me with violence right in front of the boss and several other witnesses. And the boss got angry with me. And the more I think about it, the more, I'm starting to have PTSD and the flashbacks because, in the moment when it happened, the guy, I was at the scanner machine scanning, and this tall fag is just threatening me. I'm 5'9". This guy's 6'5", bipolar, all kinds of problems, son of a cop. He's never been held accountable for anything in his life. And he's threatening me. It's kind of like in one ear out the other. He goes, he gets behind me in line obnoxiously. I joked. I said, I should scan this side or this side of the barcode. And he got really nasty. Today's not the day for it. I'll punch I'll punch your lights out, break your jaw, put you in the hospital. And the boss man got upset, but went after me. He started going after me. Started screaming, "I don't need threats of workplace violence, workplace violence in the workplace. I don't need this." So he could tell what was happening was bad, but he directed his anger and hostility towards me. And I'm not sure if I like this method because I want to be able to pause and talk about things, but oh well. Anyway, why is this so hard? Because this is hard. It's hard. Because this isn't the first time I've had like threats against my personhood. I've been bullied more in since I was in my mid to late 30s than I was in childhood. And it's hard to talk about because it's almost surreal that these things happen in the first place. And I smell my fingers a lot as a comfort move, but all right, let me just be honest. All right, so it's hard to talk about because it's surreal. I can't believe this shit's happening to me again. You think other people, you go to work, you have a job, maybe the boss doesn't like you, whatever. You have your little job, your little shit. But really, how many threats of violence and actual violence can I experience in one lifetime? And you can say it's my fault, but I was talking to my Budweiser, talking to my brother about it all, and he tried to, it's and my shrink. They both say the same thing. Whoa, you made those unscheduled stops for iced teas. Okay, fine, I did that. I admit it. If that annoys you, if you're the boss man and me making those unscheduled stops annoys you that much, then fire me. And if it really annoyed you that much, the presumption is that we're starting off on neutral ground. Me and the boss man are neutral. Hi, occupational click. I like you. Okay. And then I, occupational click, go and make an unsolicited stop. And the boss says, wow, that pisses me off. Anyone who does that is on my shit list. If that were the case, then I can understand it. But the truth is, there were other people openly admitting, yeah, I stopped at McDonald's, and the boss didn't care. So it's not like the boss had some chip on his shoulder about workers making unscheduled stops. Now, I'm not saying what I did was right. What I'm saying is you can't say, oh, well, he liked you. Everything was fine. You were neutral in his book. And then you made those stops, and then it was all downhill from there. Because if he was the kind of guy who was just the boss man, Henry Rollins, if he was the kind of guy who was so anti-stop, then he'd be pissed at any driver who made a stop unscheduled. But he wasn't. He didn't like me from the get-go, and I honestly don't know why. From the get-go, the time I was first hired, he didn't care for me. They hired me, but I remember one time I was there for a few weeks, and I didn't have a shirt yet. And I understand when you hire a new driver, you're not sure if they're going to work out or not. But, I'd been there for like 3 weeks, and I wanted my uniform. So I went up to him, and I said to Henry Rollins, I said, hey, excuse me. I was polite. I said, hi, Henry Rollins. Question for you. And he was about to pick up the phone. He goes, I'm in the middle of something. And he gets on the phone and he orders his lunch. I kind of looked at him like you can order your lunch. You're the boss man. Do what you got to do. But the way he said it to me, like the whole, I'm in the middle of something, and then goes to order his fucking lunch. I wanted to ask him. I was going to say, hey, I've been here long enough now. Can I wear a shirt? I'd like to wear a shirt so when I go to these places, people know I'm a delivery driver or uniform. And I remember that the following week he actually took a vacation, and they sent this other manager from some other store. Is this going out of focus? They sent this manager from some other store, and the manager said, hey, where's your shirt, man? I said, nah, they never got me one. And this visiting manager actually ordered me one. So, just try and ask a simple question, like, can I get a shirt? I've been here long enough. I would get this attitude from fucking Henry fucking Rollins, the boss man. Again, I'm 5'9", he's 6'2", so he's bigger than me. Is it a height thing? Do I remind him of someone? Does he think I'm some hippie dirtbag? I don't know what his deal was. But, my brother and my shrink will say, well, you made that stop. That was it. He liked you up until then you did that. Therefore, he doesn't like you. It's like they're looking for a variable. And the truth is, it's chicken or the egg. Was it that he liked me and then I did something he didn't like, so now he doesn't like me? Was it that simple? Because I get the vibe he didn't like me from the fucking get-go. And I swear to Christ, I don't know what I did to I don't think it was an action. I think I was just disliked. The way I look, the way I act, my autistic Spurg mannerisms, something about me rubbed him the wrong way. Henry Rollins, the boss man. And I know it's going to sound very arrogant and maybe even like a cope, but I'm going to say it. And maybe I should stop this video because it looks like it's going out of frame or out of focus. But, the people who worked at this job, I got along with most of them. Most of them were pretty cool. But then they hired this tall fag after me. The tall fag was only hired like not even 2 months ago. And from the get-go, when he was still in training, he was like, oh, you didn't stop at that stop sign there, even though it wasn't a legal stop sign. So from the get-go, he was trying to control. And I'll play some tape of him. I have of him. But this tall fag was obnoxious. Yeah, he threw tantrums. He did all kinds of stupid shit. If Henry Rollins, the boss man, had a zero-tolerance policy for that kind of crap, he would have fired the tall fag. But he didn't. I remember myself, if I acted like the tall fag comes in, he was told, you need to wear steel-toed shoes. Well, I don't have a pair. Well, it's a requirement for the job. I was in the office this one day. He was first hired. He'd gone through training. Well, I need the job to get the money to buy them. And I think I told this story already. He throws this tantrum right in front of the boss and the dispatcher. Henry Rollins, the boss, and Larry, the dispatcher. He throws this fucking tantrum. And the boss doesn't say anything. Afterwards, he just sort of smirks and says, oh, how about that? It was so strange how it's not, and I try to tell people, it's not what you do. It's who you are while doing it. Because if I acted like that, I'd have been fired flat out. And if I threatened someone, if I came in and went up to, this guy was 6'5", so it would be silly if I threatened him. But if I went to there's the one short guy, part picker. If I went up to the short guy and said, hey, shorty, I'm going to kick your ass, or hey, I'm going to run you over with my car, I'm going to gun and shoot you. If I did anything like that, I would have been fired on the spot. But when it happens to me, instead of, firing the threatening employee, the boss starts yelling at me like it's my fault. And, it is traumatizing. This could have been much worse. Thank God it wasn't. And then, even after this happened, so let me tell you the story. This occurred in September on, let me get my little calendar out here, if it'll open up. I think this happened on the 19th of September. Yeah. Happened on the 19th of September. And I had enough Spurg sense to say, I better get some kind of documentation of this because we can't trust the fucking company. So I called the police. As I've mentioned, the town this is in doesn't have its own state police. It doesn't have its own police force. So it uses state police, which came from a barracks like close to an hour away. And the state police couldn't have been any less interested in taking down this report. But I said, I need something for my own records. So I was threatened on a Thursday. The next day I went to work early, called the police, met them there. The boss man, Henry Rollins, was in, but the tall fag wasn't in yet because I didn't want to look at the tall fag. And I had, I marched. I told the police my side of the story. They didn't seem to care. I've explained all this already, but they marched in, and the the boss, Henry Rollins, he was cooperative, but you could tell he was not happy being, questioned by the authorities. He was not happy with it, but I needed some kind of documentation. And getting a copy of this report was a bitch, because I'll tell you, you can look it up if you want. The state police were based at a barracks in the town of Kingwood, New Jersey, which is on the Delaware River. You can look it up if you want. About an hour and so away from where this event occurred. So they're based in the town of Kingwood, and they didn't want to come out to this town to take this report. They kept saying, well, can you go through your company, some company policy? I'm like, the dude fucking threatened to put me in the hospital and break my jaw. I want it documented because the company's not going to give me a copy of the policy. HR looks out for HR. So, but again, I'm in this fucked up position. I'm the one being threatened. And now the onus is on me to I don't want to be a damsel in distress. Come save me. But I've got to do all this legwork for my own protection. And this tall faggot gets to just do that and get away with it. And but I got the pigs to come out and take down a report. And getting a copy was a bitch because when I called the station, this Kingwood Barracks, they said, we don't actually give you reports. You got to go through the town of Ewing, the state police headquarters in Ewing, what was it called? Records Division. And I went there, and I'll show some video. I dealt with a fucking, retard policewoman. I'll show all that video because I have that. You see, wow, these are our state troopers. Gee, I feel safe. But I dealt with all that, and I couldn't get a copy of the report. What finally worked, what I finally did was I waited a bit, and I called the Kingwood Barracks again, and I pretended I wanted a traffic report. And I spoke to someone. I said, hi, I'm looking for a report. And I explained, it's not really a traffic report. It's this being threatened with violence at work. And the guy started the same spiel. Well, we don't give reports. You got to go to Ewing, to the division. I said, well, okay, that's fine. But what do I tell them? And then he was able, by this point, the report was ready. He had it on his computer. I don't know why and he goes, okay, well, here's your report number. So he gave me the number of the report. So then I was able to call. I did the same thing. I called Kingwood, the barracks that took down the information. They were able to at least give me a number. So then I called the Division of Records in Ewing, did the same thing, pretended it was a traffic report. Found out it was really what they call a discovery report. They call it a discovery report. And I was able to get a copy. So I'd like to share it. Again, I was threatened on the 19th, called the police the day after. I didn't work that day. By the way, when this happened on the 19th, Henry Rollins, the boss man, he saw it. He was bothered by it. The dispatcher, Larry, rotund, fat fuck, Larry, the dispatcher, also saw it. That was on Thursday. The following day, I called the police early. Tall Fag wasn't in yet. Henry Rollins was there. And apparently, Larry, the dispatcher, had taken off for the day, which sucked because I would have loved to have had his input because he was bugged by it, as you'll see. And in fact, I think what I'll do first is I'll play some audio from the day this. I'm going to play some audio from the day this happened because what happened was I didn't record the tall fag threatening me. I had my camera recording, but that happened at the beginning of the shift. At the end of the shift, Larry, the dispatcher, said, okay, Paul, tall fag, you can go. It's slowing down. You can go home. And occupational click, you can stay a little later. And Paul, the tall fag, got passive aggressive. I've told the story, but I'll tell it again. And he didn't talk to me, but he said to Larry, the dispatcher, he said, hey, Larry, how come the kid who came in late gets to stay later, but I got to leave early? Something condescending like that. And I didn't say anything. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? This guy's nuts. He's probably a dirty fighter. Why am I even in this fucking position? So, and I feel like I need to always repeat myself, but he had, Paul the tall fag had threatened me earlier that, like late morning, early afternoon, in front of the boss man, Henry Rollins. By the end of the shift, Henry Rollins had left. He came in early that morning. He left before closing time. Larry came in later and stayed till closing. So you got Henry Rollins comes in, opens. You got Larry closes. They overlap, but Henry Rollins comes in early, leaves a bit early. So Henry Rollins was gone. It was just me, Larry, and the tall fag. Larry, the dispatcher, just missed the tall fag, and the tall fag gave me this condescending, why does he get to stay later? And so I recorded some of my conversation with Larry, the dispatcher, after the fact. Let's see here. I might have to crop here. Hold on.
Maybe he'll apologize and everything will be fine. Yeah, when he came.
All right, hold on.
He didn't even apologize. He didn't even apologize. No, I know. Ignored me all day. When he came back, I said to Dave, I said, well, maybe he'll apologize and everything will be fine. Yeah, if he'd apologize, I forget it. Instead, he says, well, kid who came in late too because it stayed the longest. I came in before him. He was behind me when I was punching in. I think. Maybe not. No, he came in. No, he was on time today. Oh, good for him. Good for him. He's not on time very often.
All right, I know there's probably an easier way to do that, like rip the audio file to the computer and somehow insert it into a video, but fuck it. Anyway, what I said was, if he had apologized, there would have been that awkwardness. I guess we just gotten past it. I'd say fine. Maybe it's not really the end of the world. We'll just move on. I'd still be very leery and wary of him. but he could have apologized. Instead, he took it the passive aggressive. The tall fag who threatened me, took it the passive aggressive way. So I said to Larry, I said, "Look, Larry," and Larry agreed. He said, "Yeah, I thought maybe he'd apologize, and that would be the end of it." But and Larry said that although Paul the tall fag was on time on this day, he's been late many times, so he's not one to talk. So the tall fag is late quite a bit. The tall fag and I, we have this weird, we had this weird relationship where he would seem kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You can say like a bully, kind of provocative, kind of pushing buttons, and then he'd back off. And the next day he'd be my buddy. He'd smile. He was a weird one. He was all over the place. And I said, "Well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's clearly a nut job. But what kind of nut job is he?" I want to play another tape now, which I think came out better. This tape, because I want to give you a background, an idea of what I have to go through at these fucking jobs. And I don't understand it. You can say whatever you want about me, but my brother says, "Well, everyone tries to find you must have done something. Everyone treats you normally, occupational click, then you do something to fuck it up." No, my behavior is in response to the way I'm being treated. That's how it feels. Like I act the way I do because I feel like cornered, like a squirrel or a raccoon. It's not going to harm you until you corner it, and then it feels like it's got to react. So where's I going with this? There was one day I had to take the car I was driving, the company car I was driving, needed to be serviced. This was well before he threatened me. This was probably sometime in August. Remember, he started after me. And he's acting like he's Mr. Expert. And Henry Rollins, the tall fag, and Larry, the dispatcher, seemed to almost enable him. They were enablers. And I remember Iggy Pop, the rock star, did not like this tall fag, Paul. Iggy Pop did not like Paul, the tall fag. And he seemed surprised. And I said to him, well, some of it might be fear because he's so big. He's 6'5", he's intimidating. And some of it might be this primitive mindset, in primitive societies, who gets to lead the hunting party? The tallest guy. Not necessarily because he's the smartest or the best hunter, but he's the tall guy. So a lot of people have this primitive mentality. And I said this to Iggy Pop once before I was threatened. It's almost because it almost seemed like Iggy Pop agreed with me. The management was too easygoing on this bipolar son of a cop, never gotten in trouble for anything in his life, tall faggot named Paul. So anyway, one day about a month or so ago, the company car I was driving needed to go for service. So Larry, the dispatcher, said, "Okay, you're going to take the car up the road to the garage, and Paul's going to follow you. And when you get there, you drop off your car. OC, you drop off your car, and then you ride back with Paul, and we'll find another car for you, another company car." I said, "Okay." So I went up, and he followed Paul, the tall fag, followed me. And we got, we had to go up this hill, and we got to the garage. We dropped off the car, etc. And then on the way back, I got in the passenger seat. Paul gave me a ride back to base, and I felt compelled to record it. I felt compelled to record this conversation because it was so strange. He started lecturing me, I'll have to insert a video again. At the place I work, I'll insert the video. You got two buildings that sort of come together at a perpendicular angle, and you got an awning you've got to go under to get to the parking lot where the company cars are. And there's a stop sign there, not a legal stop sign, just the landlord put it up. And this faggot, tall fag Paul, was always harassing me and a few others about, hey, you didn't stop at that stop sign or whatever. You're new here, you're not a manager. Who the fuck are you to lecture anybody? Mind your fucking business. But he got away with it. And Larry, the dispatcher, even scolded me. "Oh, hey, occupational click. Some other drivers were complaining that you didn't come to a full stop at this non-legal stop sign." And I was like, "What the fuck?" So I'll have to insert the video of that. I got a video of that somewhere. I'll insert it. But it's why are you, Larry, the dispatcher, taking directive from some fucker you just hired off the street? What the fuck? You want to criticize me, fine, but who are you to take orders from him? What is he, your god now? Oh, I'm gonna get down and suck his proverbial cock. That's how it came across. Anyway, I see I'm digressing, but maybe this is how I do videos. I digress a lot. Anyway, on this particular day, about a month ago, sometime in August, over a month ago now, but later August, this new tall fag, Paul, followed me when I dropped the car I was driving. I dropped it off, and he gave me a ride back to base. And let me see right here. The Paul ride. Here we go. Let's listen. And I got into the car, and this is what I got in the passenger seat. He's giving me a ride back to base, and this is what the tall fag starts saying to me.
"You're tailgating. Don't do that."
Who was I tailgating?
The car in front of you up this road the whole fucking time. You were about a car length apart. That's tailgating.
That's tailgating. Tailgating is where you can see the license plate right there. You're right in the bumper.
No. Tailgating is being too close in general.
What else?
If you're doing 45 miles per hour, technically speaking, based on laws and rules, you're supposed to be 4.5 car lengths behind that car.
Well, the speed limit is 50. So you could say that that car was going too slow for conditions. They were going about 40, 45 tops.
So here you got a guy going about law and order and rules. So I'm thinking, okay, is he Mr. Law and Order and Rules? Well, apparently not. If he's willing to cause physical violence against someone because they annoyed him, which is assault, he doesn't really care about the law. He cares about bullying and controlling others. But he would give me this wishy-washy. Sometimes I thought, this guy's nuts. Other times he'd be friendly. So I thought, all right, he's nutty, but maybe he's not dangerous nutty. I didn't know what to make of him. I'm autistic. And so he's going on lecturing me about he thought I was tailgating. Now, to get to this garage, you got to go up a hill. And the car in front of me was well in front of me, but he's giving me a lecture. You're supposed to be 4.5 car lengths. I'm thinking to myself, if you leave that much of a gap, in Jersey especially, some idiot will take advantage and try to make a left in front of you. You can't leave. There's something called closing the gap. You don't want to tailgate, but you don't want to leave like a gigantic gap because people try to make quick left turns in front of you. You got to know how to drive Jersey, and you got to know how to close the gap. Close the gap. So I think I was perfectly. The car in front of me was like a couple car lengths ahead. And he starts lecturing me, this tall fag Paul, about how I was tailgating. Don't do that. Like, are you the manager? What the fuck do you care? Go fuck yourself. But, okay, maybe you're Mr. Law and Order, so you're by the book and you're not going to break the rules and break the laws. But then you're going to later threaten me with violence and put me in a hospital. So this is what I deal with. And the boss sides with this fucker.
Yeah, but just because, we don't have no lines on this road yet, so can't do anything.
I think the road was being repaved and they were going to paint new lines or some shit.
And what else? Any more suggestions?
No, that's it, man. No, you're fine.
What else? Any more suggestions? Because it's like, that's me being kind of facetious, but like, what the fuck? And he said, no, other than that, you're fine.
I thought you were saying
going too fast.
But then he starts laughing, like, ha ha ha, we're buddies.
I thought you were saying something
about I noticed speed limit was 50 because I was doing almost 60 trying to catch you.
Really?
Yes.
I was going for, my odometer said 45.
So my odometer said 45.
You're tailgating.
Right.
Notice speed limit in front of us that we trip them, but catch you.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you can trip it if you go a little bit further.
Almost 60 trying to catch. Can't do it.
All right, I fucked up. Well, I'll edit this out, right?
And what else? Any more suggestions?
No, that's it, man. No, you're fine.
I thought you were saying something.
Going too fast.
I thought you were saying something about
I noticed speed limit was 50 because I was doing almost 60 trying to catch you.
Really?
Yes.
I was going for, my odometer said 45. My
speedometer. Yeah, no, I was at 55 trying to catch you, and I just gave up. I said, I'm not speeding like that to fucking try to catch up to you.
And I was serious about that light. That light does suck, but I know on weekends. I know. On weekends, you can trip it if you go.
So I tried to change the subject. I tried to make it about, when we got to the top of the hill, we had to make a left, and there's a traffic light, and there's a car in front of me. And the car, if you pull up, they got these, you can trip the light. If you pull up a little bit, you can show there's traffic there. This car was a little too far, it stopped a little too far back from the stop line. So the car's in front of me. I'm in my car trying to get to the garage, and I got the tall fag behind me. And we're all sitting there at this light, this prolonged light. And it was like, come on, pull up a little bit. So I tried to change the subject and make it nice. And I tried to tell myself, maybe this guy isn't so bad. Maybe we can get it back together. He's just a little strict and by the book, and we can be polite again. Let's see.
A little bit further. So that car was.
Well, those cameras are set up pretty good. It's the car in front of us that needed to move up.
Yes.
Yes, the car in front of us needed to move up. Okay. So I'm trying to the same theme, but try to make it more friendly-ish, more neutral-ish.
I mean, if you get enough of us behind them, it'll trip it.
Is that an actual camera or just like a light sensor?
It's a traffic sensor. It senses when like you said, because you're able to trip them, but I'll tell you this too, in case you didn't know.
What's that?
Almost all, not all, okay, but almost all. And you can sit there at the light and you can do it. When you have a red light,
right?
If you watch the opposite light, when it changes from green to red, 3 seconds, it changes to green on your side. So once it hits red, you can go 3, 2, 1, hit the gas, then go. And it'll turn green as you hit the gas.
Unless you have a delayed green. You gotta be careful.
Yes. Right. But they give you signs of
getting this weird lecture by this fucking know-it-all about, how to drive properly. And it's like, you're not a boss. You started after me. Why are you lecturing me? How could you lecture anyone like this? I might have to chop it here. I gotta find out where this is.
Wow. And part of Burlington County. This is Central comes that wraps down most of it. I see. Okay. I built a huge chunks of sections of Burlington.
All right, so somehow we got in the topic of like where he lives. He doesn't live in this area. Why is he coming here for a minimum wage fucking job? And he starts telling me how he used to build houses. So we got the conversation. We're heading back to base. It was about a 7-8 minute ride, and we got the conversation to friendly-ish levels. He starts telling me how he used to build houses.
We'll accept that part, but the rest of it, I see. Okay. I built a huge chunks of sections of Burlington back in the day when I was in my 20s. I was a framer.
He was a framer, used to build houses in his 20s. He's now about 50, late 40s, early 50s. He's older than me, but not dramatically. He's probably like, 7 or 8 years older than I am, early 50s. And tall, 6'5", big motherfucker.
Built this $1 million home, and right next door was like a $2 million home, and it was being built by a fucking church reverend. Oh wow! The fucking basement was big enough that you could park 30 cars in it. Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. I was like, holy crap! I was like, what church is this? Oh. They obviously don't need any money. It was a black guy, so them black people, they tithe to the heavens, man. Yeah. My brother does too.
So he's telling me he was building a house and like the one, the whole corrupt, I'm the preacher, praise the Lord. Jesus need money, pass the plate. So he was he was building a house for this black pastor for one of these colored churches. Then he starts going on, he just randomly goes on about his brother. Apparently, this tall fag was raised Lutheran Protestant. His brother converted to Roman Catholicism. I'm not religious, but he never asked me what my religion was. He just starts going on about his brother became a Catholic, and first he's talking about this black pastor who he built the house for, who had like tons of money. Then he goes on about his brother converted to Catholicism, and he ties to the church and gives them. So let's listen.
My brother gives $50 a week to the church. Wow. Yeah. What denomination? He switched to Catholic. I mean, we were close enough. We were Lutheran. Right. But yeah, he decided to be Catholic. And he gives the Catholic Church $50 a week. You said? Just told him he's just giving him hotel money. Yeah. Dude, I rip on him all the time. Yeah. I fucking hate the Catholic Church. Oh. The only reason I would become a Catholic would just be to tear it apart from the inside.
I'm not religious, but I didn't tell him, I was raised Catholic. I didn't care. I'm not offended, but it's kind of like, I don't know if I would see. That's the thing. People say I'm such an asshole. I say things I shouldn't say. I would never say, man, I really hate Jews. They all belong in ovens. Or man, I hate these Muslims. Or man, I hate Episcopalians. I wouldn't do that because with someone you don't really know, because you don't know what their religion is. I'm actually somewhat thoughtful and conscientious. So I wasn't offended. I was just amazed by his brazenness. So he's going on about how he hates the Catholic Church. But I'm actually glad. I like to play kind of dumb and hear people's honesty, because I don't care about criticisms of the Catholic Church. But it's just strange because I don't think I'd be that brazen. I wouldn't start talking about I'm this religion, I can't stand people from that. I wouldn't be that brazen. And then as he's telling me this, he starts telling me about his spiritual journey and how he's different things. And let's listen for a minute.
Okay. To create havoc. But you said you were a Lutheran, which isn't dramatically different. It's not like you were a snake handler or something. No. And I've been many things. You've been many things. Interesting.
So I'm trying to make the conversation friendly again. He wants to go this religious route. So I asked him about his spiritual awakening. He's been many things.
Yeah, I've gone through. I wasn't Lutheran when I was in the military. I had already grown out of Lutheran and stepped somewhere else. Were you ever like something other than Christian? Were you ever Hindu or Muslim or anything? Did you ever no. Always Christian, just depending on. This is where I stop. This is where you stop? Yeah.
Can I ever hear that? Right then and there. I'm going to have to pause right here. Pause. All right, I had to go to another vape cartridge. I have them downstairs because I left them by the front door when I bought them. So anyway, he had scolded me about allegedly tailgating on this awkward drive back. I change the subject to, traffic lights. He starts going on about his spiritual awakening and how he left Lutheranism and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, what happened was we got back to base and we got to that stop sign, that illegal just stop sign between the two buildings, which I will insert. I'll insert that. And all of a sudden, the conversation changed. He's in the middle of telling me about his spiritual awakening, nice conversation. All of a sudden, he starts, see, right here, this is where I stop. Here, I'll play it for you. Let's listen.
Were you ever like something other than Christian? Were you ever Hindu or Muslim or anything? Did you ever
No. Always Christian, just depending on. This is where I stop.
This is where you stop?
Yeah, I don't stop at the signs, usually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless like when I come around the corner, I see somebody, but I'll stop here because this is what he's really talking about, is the crosswalk and people walking back and forth.
Oh, okay.
That's why, I mean, these stop signs, who the fuck's walking underneath there? Nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, as long as I stop at that crosswalk, can't say shit to me. Because he might have cameras watching.
He might.
You know what I mean? From inside a building.
That's possible.
Just fixated right there on that to see if, just so he has something to bitch about.
True.
But at the same time, you want to think about it, there are people that do walk around.
Yeah, this is true. You want to be conscientious of pedestrians. But
Yeah, you don't want to hit nobody. That'd be horrible. Just like the Gaudreau brothers. You hear about that?
So he, between the two buildings, you got this perpendicular and overhead awning, and you drive between two buildings. There's also a crosswalk, as I'll show you. And he's worried about the safety of others. And the he was referring to, the tall fag Paul kept going about he means the landlord. The landlord might have cameras. The landlord. But it's like you're lecturing me about the stop sign is kind of inconvenient. It's sort of like you kind of see if anyone's there and you go. It's not a legal stop sign. It's more of a yield. But this guy is like, we went from I tried to make the conversation nice. And then once again, he goes back into, I'm Mr. Law and Order. But clearly he's not. He just wants to control others. Typical tall fag who never had to answer for it. No one pushed him around because he's a big guy. And because daddy was a cop, he can do all kinds of stupid shit like drag race. He used to brag about it. He would drag race when he was a teenager and he'd get away with it. The cops would come up and he'd show them I'm a cop's kid, and he would get out of it. And like, this guy's fucking nuts. He's not worried about law and order. He's worried about controlling others and effectively bullying others. But the main problem here is that the management, Henry Rollins and Larry, the fucking dispatcher, rotund fat fuck, allowed this. They enabled this. Why'd you hire this? All right, so you got a building over there, and you got another building over here, and you got this sort of awning in between them, and back and to the right is the auto parts place. And pay attention, because this crosswalk and these stop signs, they will come up in the story. So I thought I'd give you a visual, because they will come up. Let me finish off the conversation. There was some hockey player who was, he and his brother were killed in southern New Jersey. I think he was on a hockey team in Ohio, and he and his brother were killed. They were riding their bicycles somewhere in South Jersey the day before their sister's wedding, and they were struck by a drunk driver, and they both got killed the day before the wedding. So that's how we'll end the conversation.
Oh yeah, the hockey
Johnny
player.
Gaudreau,
Right.
yeah.
And that was a few hours before the sister's wedding. That must be wow.
Well, yeah, it was the night before.
Night before, okay.
Yeah, it happened. I think it was like 8:15 the night before, and the wedding was the next day.
Jeez. Well, did the wedding still go through, or no?
No.
I wouldn't think so, but yeah.
Wedding canceled.
Wedding canceled. Wow.
Postponed.
Postponed. Wow.
Postponed, more like it. You know what I mean?
And now, yeah. The groom to be, the sister might be like, I can't marry you now. Too much. I'll always think of my dead brothers when I see you. So
That's not true.
You don't think so?
I see where you're coming from.
Right.
If they really love each other, I don't think that'll be enough to drive them apart. I'm sure he's there for her. So.
Okay, I guess that's it. Okay, so yeah, I gave him a little black pill. Sister gonna go through with the wedding, or is she gonna look at the guy, her groom, the groom to be, and say, hey. Anyway, you hear that there's laughy, there's jokey, but there's like bullying, there's condescension, there's I know best. So this dude was kind of a loose cannon, but I'm working this job, he's working this job. Mind your business. One of the great things about this job, I thought, because I don't have to be in the same fucking fixed location for 8+ hours, there shouldn't be any occupational clicks. Boy, was I wrong. Because I do wonder, maybe Henry Rollins and the others in the office were bad mouthing me. And this dude, this tall fag, he'd come in, he'd throw complaints, and he'd throw tantrums. They didn't care. So he was free to just speak his mind and do what he wanted. They tolerated it. So he was probably buddy-buddy with them. And maybe he knew, the tall fag knew, oh, the boss doesn't like occupational click. He hates him, so I can hit him too, and I can get away with it. But let's read some of the police report, which I'm glad I got. Again, it's like pulling teeth trying to get a copy. When the state police are involved, oh my God. Oh my God, give it time. Call the barracks. Pretend you want a traffic report to get the number of the report. Then call the Ewing Division of Records and give them the report number. Christ. Again, pretending it's a traffic report, because that's what the police do all day. State police are mostly traffic. Okay. All right, so 3 names are listed. Occupational click, Paul the tall fag, but also the boss man, Henry Rollins. Because what I did, I called the police. Like I said, I went in earlier. Henry Rollins comes in early. Henry Rollins comes in before me. So I got there early before my shift was scheduled to start. And I called the police, and the police came. It took them like an hour to get there. And they interviewed Henry Rollins by surprise. I didn't give him any warning. And he played his fucking game. But let me read the report to you. This is from the pig. All right, the state police. On the above date, I was dispatched to the job site. Reference a verbal dispute. I wouldn't really call this a dispute, more of a threat. Upon my arrival, I found the caller, later identified as occupational click, standing in the parking lot. OC stated in effect, this is the cop quoting me, what I said in effect. Yesterday at work, I was standing at the register at my workplace waiting to scan a package for work when my coworker Paul was standing behind me. Then he started to rush and threaten me, saying, I will make you unconscious if you don't hurry up. Okay, I guess this is more or less accurate. It was really the scanning device, and he was just, from the get-go, he was just totally obnoxious and totally, my feelings are more important. I'll hurt someone just because they pissed me off. So, yeah, I guess this is more or less accurate-ish. Okay, so the cop continues in his report. At this time, I entered the business. Yes, I spoke to them in the parking lot, then I marched them into the business. Surprised Henry Rollins. At this time, I, the cop, entered the business located at the above address and spoke to Henry Rollins, who is the owner of the business and witnessed the argument. Well, he's not actually the owner. He's the manager of that location. Fine. But at least it says he witnessed the argument. Henry Rollins stated in effect, this is the cop quoting Henry Rollins, my boss. They both got into an argument over the register. I didn't see any physical contact, but I heard Paul the tall fag telling occupational click, I will make you unconscious if you don't hurry up. So at least I have that, okay? The suspect, the police report goes on, the suspect, later identified as Paul the tall fag, was not on scene. That's correct. I want to do this beforehand. He was not on scene. His contact information was provided to me by Henry Rollins. Yeah, I remember Henry Rollins tried to play dumb. He was disingenuous. He said, oh, I don't have Paul's phone number. And I said, hey, wait a minute, Henry Rollins. Larry, the dispatcher, has a whole list of our names and ID numbers right on the little refrigerator, like juices and lunches. Oh, okay. You tried to play that stupid game. So I made sure that Henry Rollins provided the pigs with Paul the tall fag, what the fuck his name is, Paul's phone number. All right, the cop continues. I then spoke to Paul the tall fag via cell phone. And this was probably about an hour later. And this is the cop. Paul the tall fag told me in effect, quote, I was standing at the register behind Occupational Click waiting for my turn to scan a package for work. However, Occupational Click was moving too slow. Then when I asked him to hurry up, he didn't care. So I told him I will make you unconscious if you don't hurry up. So first of all, that's actually not true. He didn't say, hurry up, please. Oh, no, I'm going to go slow. It wasn't like that. He just started sighing. So that part's not true, but it's amazing. In this police report, Paul the tall fag flat out admits he didn't care. He was going too slow. So I told him I will make you unconscious if you don't hurry up. The police officer then claims At this time, I advised both parties to not interact with each other. That's not true. I don't recall him ever advising us of that. How are we not going to ever interact or cross paths when we work together? And by this policeman's own admission, he's interviewing me on site and then calling the tall fag later. But at this time, so says the pig, I advise both parties not to interact with each other. Okay. Occupational Click did not want to press charges against Mr. Paul the tall fag at this time. I didn't because he's the son of a cop. I don't want cops harassing me because he'll call his daddy and his daddy will make some calls. So I said, I won't press charges, but I want some kind of. And the cop, the last sentence, Occupational Click stated that he wants the incident documented for future reference. I departed the scene without further incident. Okay, here's my fucking police report. They redacted the ages and dates of birth, but they gave me the names and addresses of Henry Rollins and Paul the tall fag. How old is Paul? Let's see here. He is. Oh, no. They redacted his date of birth and his age. He's got to be about 50, late 40s, early 50s, 50-ish. So about 7, 8 years older than I am. And Henry Rollins is probably a little older. I'd say Henry Rollins, the boss man, is mid-50s. He's probably like 55, 56, mid-50s. Yeah, I'd say I'm 42. Paul is 50. Henry Rollins is like 55, 56. Anyway, so what ended up happening, this is going to be a long video, but I like long videos. I need to tell my tale. You heard, you see, it's like, what are you supposed to do when you're in my position? So, I took that's right. Larry, the dispatcher, wasn't there. I wish he was. At least he could add his side to the story. He took a personal day. Just my fucking luck. Like my life is a fucking scripted Matrix movie. Just my fucking luck. And so I started on a Thursday. Friday, Larry, the dispatcher, was off. I called the police. I went there to meet the police. And then I left. I didn't come in for work because I was there earlier before my shift was scheduled. I just didn't show up. And because Larry was off, no one contacted me. So I gave myself a day off. And I was off that Saturday, one of the first Saturdays I've had off in a long time. And I was off Sunday. So I gave myself a 3-day weekend. And then when I came back, sometime during the week, that last week of September, look at my little calendar. Let me sniff my fingers and look at my calendar. Okay, so I came back to work on Monday the 23rd. And I worked the 23rd, 24th, 25th. And I had this attitude of, fuck it. I was threatened with violence in the office, brazenly. No true disciplinary action was taken against the tall fag. Henry Rollins made us both write reports, which probably pissed the tall fag off more. And at some point during one of those days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the following week, I came back to base and I had a bunch of returns. Some of the garages I went to, they had a bunch of like damaged items and old items and cores. And, so I had these returns to bring into the garage. And Paul the tall fag was sitting there, and he was talking to the little Puerto Rican guy that works in the office. The Puerto Rican guy had come out on a smoke break to smoke his Tiparillo, his one of those little cigar things. And when I pulled in, the Puerto Rican guy put out his cigar and he went back to work. But Paul was sitting there, and he kept talking as if he were talking to the Puerto Rican, pretending to continue the conversation. But it was just me and him in the garage. So I'm in the garage. And Paul is talking basically to no one, as if he's still talking to the Puerto Rican, but directing at me. He goes, "Yeah, I don't have a black belt, but I have a black boot. I tell people you get one warning with me. You fucking piss me off. That's it." So he's saying this to me, and I think I almost dropped the items. I'm like, "Holy shit, this guy's nuts. He's bigger than me. He's a dirty fighter, and his daddy's a cop, and he can probably get away with it, not just because daddy's a cop, because he wasn't disciplined." Henry Rollins and Larry the dispatcher, not only do they not punish him in any meaningful way, they basically suck his dick. They allow him to get away with this shit. So I'm like, holy shit. So at one point, Henry Rollins asked to speak with me. It was during this week. Henry Rollins asked to speak with me alone. Remember, it's a small place, a little office, a little garage. And Henry Rollins, the boss, is like, Occupational Click, maybe, do you really want to be working here? Is this really the right job for you? Maybe you should find another job or something to that effect. He wanted me to say, "You're right, Henry Rollins, I quit." But I said, fuck it. At this point, go fuck yourself. So I didn't say that. I said, I said to him, I said, well, you're right. I got to do some soul searching. And I think you, Henry Rollins, have to do some soul searching. I put it on him politely. And yeah, I don't think he didn't want to be in a position to fire me. He wanted me to quit of my own accord because he decided something weird happened. Rather than deal with the liability, aka Paul the tall fag, let me just get rid of occupational click because he's a weirdo, and if I make him go away, everything's fine. So no concern about my personal well-being, no concern about other, because I know this tall fag will go after someone else. And that's another thing I want to discuss. I want to discuss a guy who worked. That's funny. Most of the people working there are white people like me. They're Americans. They're actually, most of them are older. I'm like one of the younger ones there. These are like, some of these people are retired, some semi-retired. These are like people in their 50s, 60s, early 70s. I'm like one of the young guys. We're all pretty much white Americans. So it's not like there's a race thing or a culture thing. But, Henry Rollins, Paul the tall fag, and I, we're all just white Americans. But I want to tell you, I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. I'll edit the video if I have to. However you do that. This is going to be a project. Oh, God, this is going to be a project. But I want to do this. So I'll use the bathroom real quick. And I'll get another beer maybe. And I'll continue my story. I want to talk about Sam. Holy Moses met the Pharaoh. Yeah, he tried to set him straight. And I'm getting a little tipsy and tired when I start singing. I do like to sing. All right, pour myself another Budweiser and continue this shit. All you zombies, hide your faces. All you people in the street. That's the Hooters. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I want to talk about Sam. Okay, so there was a guy who worked there. His name was Sam. Like I said, most of these guys are white guys. Sam was an Arab. He was Egyptian. And Sam was well into his 70s. He must have been like 74, 75. He was an old guy. And he was fully retired, collecting Social Security, which we've talked about, full Social Security retirement. And because of his age, he was allowed to work as much as he wanted without any threat to his Social Security. So he worked this job. He'd been there for about 2 years. And I got along with him. But I remember when I was training, the mulatto guy who trained me, there's one tall fag mulatto. His name was, that was his name. Derek? I can't remember his name. Anyway, this tall fag mulatto who's younger than me, he's probably in his 30s. He was saying how we don't like Sam. Sam's shit. And I said to him, I said, listen, thank you for the heads up. But I told him, I told this mulatto tall fag, Aaron, his name was Aaron. I said to Aaron, the tall fag mulatto, I said, listen, thank you for telling me you don't like Sam. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. But I'm the sort of person who, I got to meet someone first and get to know them before I decide whether I like them or not. But I noticed a lot of people, remember, I'm Asperg. I'm diagnosed autism. Maybe neurotypicals, I like you, you like me. You tell me this guy's no good. We believe it. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm so hated, because people, he's no good. Okay, he's no good. I don't like him either. So this tall fag mulatto, Aaron, tells me that we don't like Sam. We, meaning the people who work there, don't like Sam. But I met Sam, and he was fairly harmless. He was just some old Arab guy, but he was kind of, I think he would play up the incompetent foreigner, like The Simpsons, Fentruck. Blame it on Fentruck. He would play up this incompetent foreigner role. Sometimes, like Larry the Dispatcher would say, hey, Sam. And he would play, like this for me. He seemed to be playing up the incompetent foreigner. He was Egyptian. His real name was Bassam, Basam, Bassam, but he went by Sam for short. And I got along with him for the most part. And I remember I asked him once, I said, hey, Sam, you're from Egypt? He goes, yes, Egypt. I'm from Cairo. Oh, I said, I used to go to Alexandria. Oh, yes. I said, tell me, were the ancient Egyptians, were they black? He's an Arab. He could pass for like Brazilian or Hispanic. He looks like a spick, but he's Arab. So I asked him, I said, were the original Egyptians black? And he goes, some of them were, yes, some, not all, but some. I said he was Egyptian, but so Sam, about a week or two before I was threatened by the tall fag, about a week or so before this happened, the threats towards me, Sam had, I don't know the full story. I was driving and I heard on the radio, we have they're not CBs, they're just radios, two-way radios. I heard Larry the Dispatcher say, base to Sam. A few minutes later, base to Sam. A few minutes later, base to Sam. Come in, Sam. So they're really trying to get in touch with Sam. And one of the other drivers told me the story. They wanted Sam to, he had dropped off some parts. They wanted him to go back to pick up a check, to pick up a payment. And they tried paging him on the two-way radio, but they also tried calling his cell phone. Now, Sam has a cell phone. We see him from time to time on his cell phone. But the number he provided when he first applied there, apparently it was the wife's cell phone. So even though Sam does have a cell phone, the number that Larry the dispatcher was calling wasn't his cell phone, Sam's cell phone. It was his wife's, and the wife would pick up. Oh, I don't know where Sam is. He's at work. I don't know. I guess Sam was, stopping, and apparently, the day after this incident, they were still dealing with the problem of not picking up the check or not getting the payment on time or some shit. So they fired Sam. Sam, the Arab Egyptian guy, was fired about a couple of weeks before me. And I remember thinking, there was this part of me, my autistic mind, my spurred mind, thinking, shit. Aaron, the mulatto tall fag, said they don't like Sam. Now that he's gone, am I going to be on the bottom of the barrel? I'm going to be the new whipping boy. And even though Paul, the tall fag who threatened me, even though Paul started after me, am I going to be, because they didn't really harass Sam per se. He was seen as sort of harmless. They didn't really, I didn't see any aggressive acts towards him, but he wouldn't really say much. He played the dumb foreigner role. I remember one time Paul, the tall fag, was berating Sam. You're not stopping at the stop sign. You're not even attempting to stop. So yeah, Paul picked on Sam, the Arab. And Sam the Arab just sort of smiled and said, oh, okay. Afterwards, I went up to Sam and I said, careful, Sam. Officer's going to get you. And Sam kind of laughed. Yeah. So Paul the tall fag was picking on Sam. I didn't like that. Sam played the stupid foreigner role. And I told Sam, I was trying to show, hey, man, don't mind that asshole. So after Sam was fired, I said, oh, shit, am I going to be next? I had this feeling. But I didn't know it was going to end like this, with a tall fag threatening me. I didn't know it would go in that direction. I didn't know, blatantly, brazenly. He's threatening with violence right in front of the fucking boss. Paul the tall fag says, I don't care about my job. I'll put you in the hospital. I don't care if I get fired. And you let this guy work there because you hate occupational click that much because, I stopped for some iced tea once. Even if you don't like that, it's bullshit. Okay, it's bullshit. You say, you stop for tea. That's why I don't like you. No. You don't like me. So anything I do is going to be under a microscope. Anything I do wrong, because we all have our faults, anything I do wrong is going to be scrutinized because you don't give a shit when the other guys stop for fucking McDonald's, but you're going to come after me. So it's clearly, I can understand if you're a hard ass, you're cool with everyone until they break your rule, Mr. Henry Rollins, and then you say, you broke my rule, I hate you. I can understand that. But that wasn't the case because Henry Rollins, the boss, didn't give a shit when others broke his rule. But with me, it was like, you stop for an iced tea, that's a cardinal sin. And this is a guy who didn't like me from the fucking get-go. When I tried to ask him for a fucking shirt, he said, I'm busy right now. It's a call for fucking lunch. Piece of shit. So I don't believe my brother and my shrink when they say, well, it's your fault because you did this. You got to find the variable. You did X, Y, or Z. That's why they don't like you. It's the opposite. They don't like me from the get-go. And anything I do is then, that's the reason why I don't like you. Yeah, I don't like this guy. What's my reason on paper? Oh, he stopped for tea. Oh, he didn't cut his hair. Whatever they want to say. And then I, of course, get resentful. I still want to keep the job. I want to pretend that it's not as bad as I think it is. So I try to play this sort of, I guess it is passive aggressive, but more of a, okay, let me show that I'm a little bothered. I'm not going to go to the nines for people who are going to treat me this way, but I'll pretend I'm still semi-respected when in fact I'm not respected at all. I keep trying to pretend to be semi-respected. I'm not respected at all. And no, I don't think it's because I stopped for an iced tea or because the tall faggot being an obnoxious asshole behind me, I said, which side of the barcode should I scan on the car, what do you call it? The keys. The keychain had a barcode you got to scan. It was two-sided. When the tall fag was like, oh, hurry up. I'm like, which side of the barcode should I scan? Yes, I will stick it to people, but it's in response to their assholish behavior. I think I've said all this, but And then, of course, I know after the tall fag threatened me and nothing came of it, and he's still making veiled threats about, I don't have a black boot, I don't have a black belt, but I have a black boot. I knew this job was finished. I knew, and Henry Rollins is trying to encourage me to quit, so I knew this job was done. But I'm like, how do I end this? So I was very fortunate. Fortunate in the sense, well, I hope I'm fortunate. I was threatened on a Thursday, called the police on a Friday. skip work that day. Worked that next week, and I was late. I think it was on the following Thursday. 1 week later, I came in. I was 5 minutes late, and of course, guess who I had to go to the punch clock. Guess who I was standing behind? Yep, Paul the tall fag. So I'm standing behind him, and Henry Rollins looks over at me from his desk, from his post. He looks over. He sees me standing, waiting for Paul the tall fag, and he gives me Henry Rollins, the boss, gives me this dirty, nasty look. He even starts moving his mouth, kind of like occupational click. Why don't you just take the day off? He says this right in front of the tall fag too. So it's like, okay, I've been threatened, and now I'm being sent home. It's like so fucking humiliating and like disgusting, and fuck you. So I said to Henry Rollins, I said, okay, I'll go home. Do you want me to take tomorrow off too? He said, well, I don't know. See if you can get here on time, or something to that effect. It was just so fucking weird. So I went home that day. Friday, I just didn't show up. I called later on. I spoke to Larry, the dispatcher. I said, listen, I was running late, and Henry Rollins said, don't come in if you're going to be late. So I said, fuck it, I won't come in. And Henry Rollins said, okay, just be here on time tomorrow. I said, sure. So I was late on Saturday, partly out of passive aggressive, partly because I was taking a shower. I didn't sleep very well that night. I was getting very bad sleep. Saturday morning, remember, I do every other Saturday. I do a morning shift. I was late getting there by about 10 minutes. And once again, I walk in the office, and there's Paul the tall fag standing there punching in. And there's Larry, who says, sorry, occupational click, you're late, and I got to send you home. And so I didn't work Saturday. So this final week of September, I was sent home Thursday, didn't show up Friday, was late on Saturday and sent home. Sunday we were closed. On Monday, but I thought to myself, what, let me go to work on time. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know how I'm going to play this, but let me go to work on time on Monday. So this was the last day of September. This was Monday the 30th. Remember, 30 days, half September, April, June, and November. So September 30th, last day, was a Monday. It's now been like over a week and change since I was threatened. I was going to go in on time. I was awake. I said, let me just go in on time. How am I going to play this? But before I even had a chance to go in, the phone rang, and it was Henry Rollins. And, these phones now, they don't let you record cell phone conversations, which sucks, because I remember I had an old phone. Here, I got it right here. Let me show you. This phone's all cracked up, and it's a piece of shit. But this phone, I had a recorder app. If you hit record the phone conversation. I wish to God I could. Maybe we should get that fixed. I wish to God I could have recorded the conversation with Henry Rollins. But he calls me up. We're now like a week and change since the threat, and Paul the tall fag is still subvertly threatening me. And no disciplinary action. The guy, it's like his immunity. It's like, what the fuck? If I acted like him, I'd be fired. Yeah, I'm going to be fired for less. But anyway, so Paul the tall fag. So Henry Rollins called me up on Monday before my shift was scheduled to start, and he was very angry. But it almost sounded like he had his the call. It was almost like it was scripted. He rehearsed it. The conversation. He goes to me. He goes, "Hi, occupational click. This is Henry Rollins." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Listen, it's over. Saturday was the last straw. I think you knew that, but if you go collect unemployment, whatever we're going to do, have a nice life." Something to that effect. I didn't even say goodbye or talk. I just hung up. I said, okay. So, I wish I could have told him off in person and said, listen, man, dude fucking threatens me again covertly. You do jack shit about it. Why should I come on time for this fucking job? But it's crazy that people have no respect for me and my boundaries, that this tall faggot would just threaten me flat out right in front of the boss. The boss knows it's wrong. He knows this is bad. But instead of saying, hey, this is bad, tall fag, you're wrong, he starts going after me because I guess I'm the easy target. I guess I'm a weak bitch. I don't know. I really don't know. Or I'm just a weirdo, or I'm harmless, or they didn't like me to begin with. So when something bad happens, regardless of who's right and wrong, let's get rid of the weirdo. I don't know. But that's what I was subjected to. I guess I can talk about unemployment and lawyers. Let me talk about that. Why not? Because that's phase 2. So I am feeling anxious. I wake up in the morning thinking, wow, the guy wanted to harm me. And the onus is now on me. I got to call the cops, which I did. I got to try to find a lawyer. The onus is all on me. I'm a fucking victim. And no one wants to help. I called several lawyers. I called about 6 or 7 lawyers to try to get a contingency case. The best I got, I called them. I think I called them oh, that's right. So I applied. Okay, so I was fired that Monday. I applied for unemployment right away. Applied for unemployment. and called a bunch of lawyers. Only one lawyer. I called like 7 or 8 lawyers, 6 or 7 lawyers. I explained the story. I have a police report. I have documentation. It's not just my word. I got documentation. There's something we can do. The best I got was, I think, the third or fourth one I called. They called me back, and they're like, listen, we can't take your case. I asked why not. They said, oh, this is the paralegal secretary. I don't know, but the lawyer said they don't want to take your case, but here's another law firm. So they gave me a number for another law firm. And I called, and I got a free consultation from this lawyer who said to me, well, first, you got to hear from unemployment. First, see what unemployment says. If unemployment wants to penalize you, then we can try to fight that. But with unemployment, that's good. We can get information from them. And then the next step after unemployment comes in, if I get approved for unemployment, would be to write a letter, a letter of demand of severance, demand letter of severance, heavily worded, to try to scare the company into paying you something. Remember, I was only there for 4 months. You don't know how a backstory. On Christmas Day, I went to the hospital. I quit my 2 jobs I was working at the time at the furniture store and the grocery store. I was unemployed for much of like January through June, collecting temporary neat bucks. I got my what do you call it? Workman's comp, or not workman's comp, disability insurance, temporary disability insurance. And that's oh, by the way, that's why it's a good thing I was fired in September, not October, because the way it works, this is gonna be hard to follow. I'm just gonna go off before I get back to the lawyers. I'll do a little side note thing. Maybe I should get a piece of. If I can, okay. Unemployment breaks up the year into 4 quarters: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 4 quarters. And when you get fired, what they say to you is, okay, the quarter you're currently in doesn't count, whether it's the first day or the last day. Remember, it's 3 months per quarter. Doesn't matter if it's the first day or the last day. The quarter you're in does not count, and the last completed quarter does not count. So we're going to go back 4 quarters prior to the final completed quarter. We don't count this quarter, and we don't count your last completed. We do the 4 before. Okay? So by getting fired in September, at the very last day, just in the nicholas of time, by getting fired in September, that puts me back to, I think it's April of 23. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, which is perfect because remember, I went to the hospital Christmas Day. I did not work January, February, March. So that would be the last. So I have no income for that quarter. But I have 3 quarters of income, which they'll base my pay on. Had I been fired in October, had I been fired like a few days later, then that means we'd be in the October, November, December quarter. It means they wouldn't count the what's it called? July, August, September quarter. They wouldn't count that where I worked at the auto parts place. I know this is hard to follow. Had I been fired in September, they would have gone back. I think it's August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Now remember, I know it's hard to follow. All you gotta do is trust me. I got fired in September. That means I have 3 quarters that I worked. 1 I was unemployed because of my injury. Had I been fired in October, I'd have 2 quarters where I worked and 2 of unemployment. So my base rate of payment would have been lower. So it's good that I was fired in September. So I guess that's the silver lining. Because like I said, had I been fired a few days, like 1 day later, my base year would have gone to the next quarter. You go back 4 quarters prior to the last completed, and I would have been like, because it would have included 2 quarters where I didn't work. This way, I'm getting, it would have been 2 quarters worked, 2 quarters not worked had I been fired in October. Getting fired in September, 3 quarters worked, 1 unworked, which is going to affect my pay rate, but because they go back, they base your pay rate on these quarters prior to. So it's a good thing I was fired in September. I guess that's the good news. Okay, so I was talking about lawyers. Yeah, very few. The paralegals all seemed sympathetic. They said, okay. I said, all right, call me back. The only response I've gotten thus far, and remember now it's been like over a week now. We're now like it's mid-October. It's been over a week since I've been fired. Yeah, almost 2 weeks. And maybe I should call some more lawyers. The only one that ever got back to me refused to take my case, didn't say why, but referred me to another lawyer. And this other lawyer said, okay, get your unemployment, which I'm still waiting on. I'm still waiting on unemployment. That's a whole other can of worms. And then, we can get some information on unemployment, and then we can write a demand letter. They don't work. They do not work on contingency. Contingency is where, if we win, they take a chunk. They said, you can pay us about $800 some odd dollars for a letter, and we can write this letter, and maybe they'll give you some kind of severance because it sounds like you have a whistleblower case. And I'm like, well, we're not going to do that yet. First, I've got my unemployment. But I said, okay, well, what are the odds if you write this letter, this $800 fucking letter? What are the odds that it'll amount to something, and how much will it amount to? Like, you can write a letter, they can say, fuck you. You can write a letter, they can say, fine, we'll give you, here's $500. The letter costs $800. You can write a letter and they give you $1,000 or $5,000. He said, I have no idea. There's no way to say for sure. And the next step would be, if the letter doesn't scare them into giving me some kind of monies, I would have to file a lawsuit. And he told me flat out, I wouldn't pursue it. You only worked there for 4 months. I would not pursue this. You'd have to find another attorney to file a lawsuit. You have, 1 year to file a lawsuit. So, 1 year from the date of termination. So if a threatening letter doesn't help, and you pay us for a threatening letter and that doesn't help, you'd have to file a lawsuit. And I can tell you right now, we're not going to take this case because you're only there for 4 months. And the only positive thing he said, he told me there was a case here in New Jersey where at a Chinese restaurant, one worker spit in the eye of another. So the worker who got spit on, he called the police. The police came, took a report. And then the owner of the Chinese restaurant said, you call police, no good, you fired. And I don't know if he actually sued or if he just, And I asked this lawyer, I said, what was the name of that case? I'll look it up. And the lawyer said, I don't know. I'm like, well, if there's any truth to this, because we can't trust lawyers, all right. Part of me thinks, should I call? Because we know that HR only looks out for their own asses. Should I call HR and threaten them myself? Say, listen, I was threatened. I have a police report. I'm going to lawyer up, pay me some monies because I was fired allegedly for tardiness. When in fact, Paul the tall fag threatened me, and the boss saw the whole thing and took no action. He admitted to it. Here's my fucking police. Do I do that, or is probably not going to? HR is not going to be on my side. And I told you, Paul the tall fag. During that last week, from the time I was threatened to the time I was fired, Paul the tall. I'm sorry, not Paul the tall. Yeah, Paul the tall fag threatened me, and he threatened me. It was an unsafe work environment. Henry Rollins was like, oh, he wrote me up for tardiness, alleged tardiness. But I didn't sign. I'm like, I'm not going to sign this. All of a sudden, you're going to complain I'm being tardy. So he was clearly trying to get rid of me and cover his own ass. It's all like a fucking sick game. When all you had to do was say, you know what? I'm the boss. I heard an employee threaten another. That's wrong. I have enough wherewithal to say it doesn't matter how I feel about you or you. That's wrong. Paul the tall fag, you're fired. Go home. You're fired. We don't need this. You're a liability. That's all he had to do. But instead, the nastiness of people, their hatred towards spurgs like me, ugly fucks like me. Oh, you were annoying. You stopped for a tea. No. Others do the same thing. You don't care. So it's not what I did. It's who I am. You hate me because of who I am. And all you have to do was fire the tall fag and life would go on. But instead, you're trying to play all kinds of stupid, this Henry Rollins trying to play all these preemptive games. It's so fucked up. And the onus is on me. I got to call these lawyers. I got to wake up feeling miserable. I'm probably developing PTSD. This isn't my first go around with. I'll tell more stories. I've had other fucking crazy incidents. Shit you wouldn't believe happened to me. It's amazing how much I'm hated. If this didn't happen to me, I either wouldn't believe it or I'd say, "Wow, that's fucked up." I have stories. I have stories. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I listen to some folks that I watch say things like, anecdotally, if your employee gets a promotion and you don't be angry. You go get your own promotion. I'm like, wait a minute. What if the employee is a tall fag threatening you and he gets promoted? You did nothing wrong, but you're getting fired, having to fight for your dear life to get a lawyer, and no one wants to help you. It's like we don't all have the same opportunities in life, and some of us have experiences that are beyond the pale fucked up, like me, like yours truly. And I understand it. Maybe some of you have some ideas or suggestions. You can tell me what you think, because it's like beyond fucked up. It really is. It's beyond fucked up. And I have even crazier stories. It's like, I thought this would stop, but it just keeps happening. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong or if I did anything wrong. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Because I know I don't care if I piss them off because of tardiness or whatever. You can get angry and say, you pissed me off, you're fired. But to go to this level of evil, let's ruin him. Let's ruin occupational click. It's like, how can people be this fucking evil? You heard the guy threaten to break my jaw, saying flat he doesn't care about his job. This man is a liability. It's not just about me. How can you have someone like this? You're the boss. Do something. Be a boss. You heard the whole fucking thing. You know it's wrong, clearly, because you want me to write a report. You know it's wrong. Be a fucking boss. But he didn't. And if it's because he's in love or mesmerized by the height of Paul the Tall Fag, then Henry Rollins is just a piece of shit. And if he's afraid of him, then he's a real fuck up. Because why did you hire some guy you're afraid of? And none of it makes any fucking sense. And if Paul the Tall Fag is some part of some special, I don't think he is, but if you're some kind of halfway house, halfway home, special drug addict going back to work state program thing, then they really should have told me, hey, listen, this guy has special privileges because he's a fucking. But you know, I don't know what's going on. It is fucked up, and I'm the one who's got to suffer for it. I get fired. I've lost my livelihood. I got to try to find a lawyer if that even works. I got to chase down fucking police. Oh my fucking Christ! It's just fucking insane. It is. It's insane. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say before I end this, because I really don't want to go back and add addendum videos, but I mean, what do you think? Because I feel miserable. I really do. But maybe I deserve all this. You heard Paul the Tall Fag, how he's effectively a bully or a control freak, and he's not even a boss. But the actual boss sticks up for someone like him and comes after me. How am I supposed to survive in life if I'm getting treated this way? It's not the work itself. And I thought, hey, this is a great job. Basically, I drive around and by myself all the time. It's like I still get the workplace drama, the occupational cliques conspiring against me. It's like, what the flying fuck? So for those who wonder what I've gone through, this is like I have other stories to tell, but this is in real time. This is live. This is my miserable existence now. And it brings up all the memories of the other problems I've had at other jobs over the past few years. It really triggers me. Yes, triggers. A rose by another name. It triggers me. It's so fucked up. And maybe I'm still carrying around the resentment from those other jobs, and it builds up and builds up like a snowball. But I can't believe right in front of the boss, this guy wants to threaten me, break my jaw, put me in the hospital. The boss is upset by it, but I'm the one getting yelled at. It was like, oh, that's right. It was like sensory overload. When that happened, I'm scanning. The guy's getting obnoxious. Paul the Tall Fag threatening me. And I'm like, huh? It's like in one ear out the other. I'm like, huh? I hadn't fully processed it. And on top of that, the boss starts yelling at me. Hey, I don't need your threats in the office. I don't need this. You know it's wrong, but you're yelling at me instead of the Tall Fag. And I just got out of there. And I always think when I think back of other past experiences, man, I relive them in my mind and think maybe I could have done this differently. But when these things happen, it was like sensory overload. I was overloaded. I got Paul the Tall Fag threatening me, quickly followed by, before I can respond, I get the fucking Henry Rollins boss man yelling at me. It was like too much for my autistic brain to process. So yes, I am the fucking victim. This is fucked up. It really is. I mean, you want me to tell you? And I'll end this, and I'll probably think, shit, I should have said that, or I should have added this. Maybe I'll add it, maybe I won't. But I guess I should end this. It's been long enough. It's over an hour, and I got to splice in some videos and some shit. So for now, occupational click out.